Hello, Melanie. Thanks for logging in. We're getting started. Sound checks can start before the hour. So if you ever want to log in before, just to make sure you're totally logged in. But it's good to have you join us. Um, so as we start the practice, I'd like to give an important safety note that because we are practicing together doesn't mean you have to do what I say. You can hear what I say and you can discern if that movement, if that type of breath works for your body at this moment. And throughout our practice, you might notice your body say, let's add more, let's take some things away. So I really want you to become your yoga teacher. I joke that I'm the yoga tour guide. So, hi, I'm Candace, your yoga tour guide. And in this divine breath yoga practice, our other guide that helps lead the way is welcoming God onto our mat. And so tonight, as we gather in this unlikely sacred space of our mats that we roll out, it becomes our practice and our time to spend with God. And so as we start and end our practice, it might be a little different to tell your body to calm down and to find rest. We're so often busy, busy, busy that to take this initial breathwork time in quiet contemplation is a way that teaches us to slow down. And so as we start to slow down, you might notice you want to lay on your yoga mat. And there's a few ways that you can play with laying down. You might bend your knees and notice that they get a nice juicy hug in, and you can rock side to side. Find your feet that plant down, stretch your back nice and long. Find where your head even reaches long and strong down your mat. And that might be perfect. You might tent your knees together and kick your feet out to the edge. Or you might notice that flip flop feet feel nice. Or you might feel that hands on the belly and the heart feel good. Or maybe hands that are open and the backs of the hands touching the floor, or maybe more of your pinky just touching the floor. But the whole hand helps roll open the shoulders and open up that breath. But you might notice laying on your back needs some support. So adding a pillow underneath your hips or keeping the knees bent. Or you can roll on your side. It's called fetal pose with your knees tucked in and your hand under your cheek or an arm under your head. Or maybe you'd like to start this contemplative prayer time by sitting. And your legs could look any which way. You could sit on a couch if you're practicing from home or a comfortable chair. Or you could sit on the floor if that's in your practice with a leg out, with legs tucked in. Most important part is just really finding that tall back and opening your shoulders, whether you're laying down or seated, so that you can breathe in that breath of life. So as we begin to slow down our breath, first, it sometimes can help us by noticing the breath and seeing how our breath is today. And sometimes that breath is kind of short, and it might be up in our chest and in our ribs. Other times you might notice your belly is the one doing the breath. It's a big bellow that opens and presses down. And sometimes you might notice as you breathe that the belly and the chest are expanding and emptying. But we start by just noticing that breath, where it is, and acknowledging it might be short, and it might be caught, or it might be nice and slow and full. You might want to welcome in a big breath out, called a breath to de-stress. It's almost like a yawn. You could make sound as you breathe out, maybe a few times. But that big breath in and a nice big mouthy that lets go. That yawn signals our brain, telling it to rest. And so it's a little trick that we have in yoga, in mindfulness, in contemplative prayer, to tell our body, hey, I'm listening to you. Listen to some of the cues that I give. And so as you tell your breath that you're listening, welcome your breath to maybe find a nice slow in and out rhythm, where you find that big expansion and that big letting go. And with this divine breath yoga practice, we welcome in that divine breath of life. We give thanks for our Creator giving us this breath, for giving us this day. We give thanks for the Holy Spirit gathering us together and coming to rest, bringing light and love, peace and joy, grace into our hearts. So finding that slow breath and opening the door to your heart and mind to welcome the divine presence, this divine breath yoga practice where we yoke our busyness, our thoughts, our concerns, our worries, our hopes, our prayers to God's listening ear. And so as you might notice things that pop up, greet them. Say, I'm listening. And let God help with that, to hear it as well. So we slow down and we notice that breath and we notice any thoughts. And maybe we start to welcome some words to sink into our heart to set an intention for our practice tonight. So as you slow down, listen with the ears of your heart. We read from Hebrews chapter 4. Indeed, the word of God is living and effective, sharper than any two-edged sword, penetrating even between soul and spirit, joints and marrow, and able to discern reflections and thoughts of the heart. God hears and God sees, even in the quiet of our hearts and our minds. And for that listening ear, we are thankful. The word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of the soul, spirit of joints and marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of the heart. It's the shirt I'm wearing today. It was from a youth retreat offered out here in Hawaii. To let the word of God speak to us tonight. Speak in the quiet of our hearts, to speak in the listening of our hearts, where we listen and God listens, and sometimes not a word is spoken. The communication happens in the silence. So setting up as the foundation of our practice, this is where we start to begin our noticing, our letting our bodies become still, to welcome in a full breath of life, and perhaps to add some things on to build our movement practice, but letting our breath and our movements, our mindfulness be a prayer. And so we come just as we are, practicing with perfectly imperfect and wonderfully made bodies. Listening to your body's ability, my insurance wants me to remind you that you are undertaking exercise, so practice with care, practice with loving kindness. If you are practicing in a room with someone else, or you're looking at me do the movements, your body will move in different ways. And listen to your body and how it feels right for your practice, the movements and the breath that we're making. So we take a few more nice, slow, deep breaths in, and we notice from head to toe, welcoming in a feeling of divine peace, wrapping up in a blanket of love, welcoming in a spark of joy, letting God's love light kindle the flames in each of our hearts, sinking down into our marrows and our bones. This is our practice of noticing. If you've been seated or lying on your side, we're going to wake our body up a little bit by coming and laying down on our back to give some movement into the hips and into the back. So I really want you to practice again with that gentle kindness, making adjustments as your body needs. sometimes we need to make space for our belly to be able to breathe. And so moving the legs apart can help make some space. Moving clothing around sometimes can become a burden to our practice. So find your rest, planting the feet in a place that feels strong for you, that allows your hips to press down, and feel those hands and elbows connect out beside you, giving that nice press into strong hands, strong arms. And maybe you lift your head, neck, and shoulders, and careful not to hold the breath as you work that stomach, feeling that lift, that sit up, that crunch. Feel your chin draw in. Sometimes looking up to heaven gives us too much of a twinge in the neck. So feeling that chin draw in. And then feeling a nice warm stretch through your belly, your ribs, out through the shoulders. Feel like a string is lengthening your back out through the top of your head, giving you a pull to lengthen you down your mat. And then melt your shoulders, sometimes giving a little wiggle walk of the shoulders, feeling your shoulder blades connect underneath you, adjusting the elbows where they feel strong. The hands can press down. Notice your back and your belly. See on the breath out if you can let a heavy weight feeling sink your belly down, pulling your belly button towards the spine into the mat. And as you breathe in, feel that belly lift up. A small gap in the small of your back helps lift you up, and feel that gap press out on your breath out. Now, again, sometimes adding a little pillow or a blanket under your hips might help it feel a little more comfortable. So play with feeling that lift and that press. Maybe as you press, your tailbone lifts a little bit, and you can feel that tailbone shift in each direction. As you add a little more, this is called a cat-cow movement. The Halloween cat is when we roll the back out. You feel that belly lift up. And then letting your back come to where it normally naturally wants to arch. We take a breath. Notice, feel that nice zipper that lengthens the spine. Relax your shoulders down, a nice heavy weight that presses out any tension. Maybe you build the shoulders up and you feel them lift and roll, and then you feel them melt their way down. So you can just feel a small lift to the shoulders and let them down. Or if you'd like to add more, let the hands reach towards heaven, give a pull through the shoulders. So waking the shoulders and neck up by having it reach and melt. Big, slow breath, kind movements. Maybe your arms are reaching and pressing out, or maybe it's just a movement in your shoulder. And let the arms spaghetti loose, melt down to your side. Relax the shoulders. Feel that stretch in the back. Take that breath to reset. Notice any adjustments you need to make to your back. I'm going to play a little bit with the legs. So listen as you bring your leg in. Sometimes it feels nice to draw the leg up towards the belly button. And other times it feels nice to bring it more out to the side, out toward the shoulder and the edge of your ribs. So bringing one leg in and letting it down, bringing the other leg to march in and let it down. And you might add a hug. And the hug could come on your shin, or you help draw the leg closer to you. Or if that's too much pressure on the knee, reaching behind the small of your knee to reach and pull the leg in. So feeling your legs march, slow motion, maybe drawing them in. And then pausing to begin again. Take that nice, big, deep breath, reset. Notice how things are feeling. Now here's where you could add more, planting the hands down, feeling that connection, feeling both legs draw up, seeing how it feels. Again, legs could be close together, or they could be butterflied further out, knees, however it feels good for you. But feeling those legs reach up, feeling your ankles connect together, or maybe it's your heels and toes if your knees are butterflied. So feeling the legs lift and listening to your stomach. Maybe there's some quivering that says take a deep breath. Fill it with that breath of life. So feeling those feet raised up, letting them come down whenever they need. Big breath. Let it go. Let the feet come down. Feel it march out a couple of times, marching one leg, then the other. Keeping it where your body needs to be. It could be with the feet pressed. You just play with that cat-cow movement. Maybe you add a march here and there. But if it feels okay to draw your legs up again, they're called yoga bicycles. So these little yogi bicycles could be where you start to pedal your legs, where you give that kick out and bring it in. So you're bicycle pedaling. And it can be where your feet stay above the ground, or if it feels better, you could give a little tap and it just touches the ground and circles around. So with feet raised, bicycling, or a tap drag of your foot, see how it feels to go on a yoga bicycle ride. Big breath. Listen with kindness when your body needs a break, working muscles we might not always ask to work. Letting it come down. You might hug in first and then let the feet come down to rest. Notice the back. Let it adjust and sink down. Take that nice big breath to reset. Sometimes it feels nice to walk the feet out to the edges of the mat and let the knees give a windshield wiper from side to side. So the breath in, the knees come up, and the breath out, they fall to each side. You could keep windshield wipering, or if you'd like to go on a bike ride backwards, you find those feet, and it could be a tap drag where the feet stay connected to the floor and you give a backward circle towards you. So that tap circle backwards, or where the feet are raised and you give that bicycle ride backwards. Big breath, gentle kindness, stopping the bike ride whenever you need. Ooh, maybe you give that squeeze in to hug out any tension we built up, letting the feet come back down, melt and relax, set the feet. See if it feels good to just reset here with a cat-cow movement, or if you'd like to let the knees windshield wiper side to side. As you bring the legs back up, check in with the spine, nice, long, lengthened back, arms out to rest, seeing how it feels. Maybe your back is saying it would like a little bit of a massage. And you can do that with the cat-cow movement or by drawing your legs in, feeling them hug around. And again, maybe they come out to the side, maybe they're closer together, but adding just a little rock from side to side, hip to shoulder. Slow it down. The breath out lets you melt and lean to each side. Breath in brings you up. Or maybe if you don't want the rock, you hug the legs in and you let them come away to make space for that breath in. And you squeeze them on that breath out. So giving some squeezes and letting goes, or a gentle rock. Thanking our back. A nice slow massage. Hug the legs in one last time if you'd like. Maybe round the head, neck, and shoulders up, bringing the forehead towards the knees, tucking into our various size balls. And then as you unstretch the back down, nice and long and slow, feel the feet come down. Maybe you keep the feet planted or you kick the legs out, spaghetti loose legs. Relax the arms. Big breath. Notice how things are feeling. As we're telling the body to wake up, sometimes it feels nice to give some yawning type of movements, some stretches that help wake us up. So you might feel it feels nice to point the toes out and to flex the heels in, or maybe to point your hands and flex the wrists, giving some movement into your wrists, your feet, waking up those joints. Maybe your arms need to reach out to the side, into a T, into a Y, maybe over your ears, Maybe it feels better to reach to heaven. So find your waking up arms and legs, wiggle the toes, wake up the fingers. Now I've got little Theo sleeping here on the couch next to me, and he's snoring peacefully. So if that beginning practice puts you to sleep as well, that's okay. If you're breathing, you're doing yoga. Nico on the corner there is nice and curled and tucked up. That's the position we're changing to now. We're going to curl onto our sides. So as you bend the legs, push through those feet and onto whichever hip you'd like, curling onto your side, or you draw the knees in, you make a pillow under your head by placing the hands there or an arm. We just come to rest on our side here. Again, in this divine breath yoga practice, here's where we wrap on God's goodness. Welcoming God's loving presence, surrounding us in love. Welcoming peace, sparking joy, giving grace and forgiveness, and resting here, listening in the silence, and perhaps speaking without words. As we're ready, you can find a few different ways to transition from your side. You might just stay laying here, or you might want to come onto your belly to give a stretch to your back. If that would like to be in your practice, roll onto the stomach, listen to how far to lift onto the elbows or onto straightened arms, but this gives a stretch to your lower back. Sometimes looking up to heaven gives a little extra. Sometimes adding more of an arm lift where the elbows come in and the hands spread out and give a nice big push into straighter arms, a curve into the back, maybe walking the hands closer, feeling the knees lift up, pushing through your toes. Find that nice slow lower down. Maybe you turn your head to one side and ear to the other side to give a stretch to your neck. And then we'll transition whenever you're ready onto your side to rest again. Shake out any tension. Another way that you can come up is by slowly pressing the hands down, inching them in, feeling the elbows come in, keeping your legs stacked to the side to say that they're mermaid legs. So you find those strong hands, feel the belly nice and strong to help lower you down, looking ahead of you into a sideways push-up. Listening again to the shoulders, how far to bow down and raise up. Just a tiny movement or a bigger one if you'd like. Big breath, gentle kindness. And then as you're ready, we work to spin our way over. Now again, your comfortable seated position might be better suited on a couch or a solid chair. If that's the case, you want to find your feet planted down. That nice, strong 90-degree angle in the feet where the hips plant and the belly lifts his way up. So if you'd like to be seated in a chair, bring that into your practice. If you'd like to be seated on the floor, sometimes adding a solid pillow to sit on, a foam or cork yoga block, or just the cushion of your own seat. So you find that balance on your hips. You listen to your legs. Some folks feel better with their legs out, both legs out, with the knees bent, with one foot drawn in, with both legs crossed in, crisscross applesauce, or maybe one leg stacked on the other. There's some people who can make their legs into a pretzel shape. I am not one of those some people. It's a practice. So listen to your body. One leg, straight legs, both legs drawn in. Find that connection. Zip your spine nice and strong. And sometimes like it's a puppet. Feeling those strings move you a little bit from side to side. Feel that string lift you, and you can let the strings lower you. So you can let your back come nice and tall, and you can let your back melt down. So playing with that lift, that lower, sitting up tall and strong is a practice. And you have to listen. If it says melt down, let go, that might be where your body tells you. Hands can press on the lap, elbows can draw in, and that works like a kickstand. That helps lift the belly, the ribs, keeps the spine nice and tall, brings the chin in. Other times people feel stronger with kickstand arms out to the side, where the hands press down on the floor. And others like to relax that kickstand out where the backs of the hands touch. The palms are open and receiving. So sit as your body tells you is in your practice tonight, listening with gentle kindness, welcoming in that big breath of life. We begin again, seated here, adjusting your legs, your back whenever you need, but practicing this tall, seated mountain posture. Our gospel this week was from Mark, and Jesus went out after performing lots of miracles to just sit and be still and to recharge. So we sit in God's presence and get recharged by that love light, that peace, that joy, grace, forgiveness, welcoming in that divine breath, that presence that wraps us in loving warmth, strength, renewal. Taking this strength from our mountaintop moment, we can start to tell our back to play in different ways. One might be a seated cat movement. And so as you find your hands on the knees, maybe if your legs are long, you hold onto the side of your leg, but the idea is to round your shoulders down, looking towards your lap. As the head drops more, it stretches into your shoulder and neck. And then to straighten back up into your mountaintop moment, feeling it nice and tall, maybe adding a gentle curve that helps you scoop and look up to heaven, coming back to your mountain lift. Breath out rounds the cat arch, relaxing, stretching. Working at your pace where you lift mountain strong, maybe look to heaven. Come back to that mountain renewal. Relax into the cat. Big breath, kind of movements. As you come back to that mountaintop moment, that seated strength, find that breath. Relax your shoulders. We begin again, finding that nice tall back before we ask it to move in another way with a gentle seated twist. Finding a hand to the opposite knee is where it starts. You can look straight ahead if that feels better. You can turn and look towards the knee, or you can add more and look back like someone's calling your name from behind you. So finding that gentle tap to start, lifting your mountaintop strong back, that might be enough. And you untwist. And you feel it build to that same side. You lift mountain strong, tap to the edge, maybe add where that hand becomes a leverage point on your knee. The other hand can push down and give you some strength on the side. And that might be enough. You sit tall and look over across that knee. And you might untwist a little and build that strength back up, tapping over, looking across your shoulder, or maybe looking back. Me, I get to smile at my sleeping puppies. But whatever you see, if your eyes are closed, imagine something. You're looking back that calls your name. Maybe it's God calling you by name, sending you love. Feel that back lift, nice and strong, turning back to the center. Feel that zipper that lifts you nice and tall. Maybe you relax it out for a moment, a cat round of your back, a mountain strong to rebuild, maybe a curve looking to heaven. Back to that mountain strong. Listen as you start to twist to the other side, or maybe you twist to the same side. It's your practice. But feeling that lift, maybe looking straight ahead. Maybe as you tap, you start to turn and look. Maybe you immediately go to looking back behind you. Feeling that lift, a let go whenever you need, a breath out that welcomes the twist in. Nice lift of your spine before you ask it to drop a hand to the side or look back behind you. Again, maybe you see something that makes you smile. Or you close your eyes and you imagine something that sparks joy. We pause here in this gentle seated twist, feeling our spine lift up to bring us back to center. Again, a gentle relax. Maybe you need to sit strong. Maybe you give that big, slow cat arch round. And whenever you're ready, coming mountain strong and lifting to look to heaven. Coming back, seated mountain strength, hands resting as you like. Maybe they're planted on the lap, out to the side, or back to the hands touching your knees. Taking a nice big breath, welcoming that breath of life, noticing how the back is feeling. Sometimes as we transition to crisscross the other leg, if you'd like, if your legs are long, maybe you shake them out. We're going to reset our seated strength. So it might be where you spaghetti shake out your legs and you add those legs where they start to cross in and we fold them in, maybe in a different way, finding that seated strength where we plant the hips down and we zipper the back up nice and strong, melt the shoulders down, plant the hands strong on the lap, elbows in, hands down onto the floor if you'd like, or relax the shoulders and backs of the hands touch. Slow down your breath, notice it. Listen. Relax your back if it needs that cat arch curve, mountain strong, maybe an arch. Breathe in this strength, this renewal. The word of God is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing to the division of soul and of spirit and joints and of marrow, and discerning the thoughts and intentions of our hearts. God is listening, even when we speak without words. And so we sit here mountain strong, seeking to listen to God, even if there are no words to be heard. Going to play with the shoulder, and again, it's going to be within your range of motion. Listen with kindness, but as we bring tension of the shoulders up by the ears, see how it feels to breathe out and melt them down, and shrug up on your breaths in and melt spaghetti loose on the breaths out. Maybe you even swish the arms as you breathe out. Draw up lots of tension on the breath in, melt on the breath out. Feeling that raise and that lower. Building up the tension and then noticing the letting go is part of our yoga idea of feeling things build and how they can let go. See how it feels to add some circles, some rolls. Again, notice mindfully as your shoulders start to move, and maybe one shoulder moves in a bigger circle than the other, but listening, maybe the elbows come into play, maybe chicken wings flapping out to the side, maybe they're big swimmer arms that's scooping and reaching, maybe it's a bent elbow combination, maybe it stays nice and slow. But this range of motion, listening to any clicks and some pops, maybe sometimes it needs a little gentle massage to encourage some movement, never forcing it. Spaghetti loose, shake it out. Notice your back, zip up nice, mountain strong. Begin again. See how it feels to roll the shoulders backwards. Feeling that movement grow or stay just where it needs to be, or dial it back as the body says it's had enough. Maybe the elbows come into play, those chicken wings circling their way around, or maybe you've got a strong backstroke and those arms are reaching and swimmer strong behind you, around you. Maybe it's with elbows and that feels better. Maybe it pauses and says it needs you to give a little wiggle to relax out a spot. Practicing that gentle kindness. Big breath out, spaghetti loose arms. See how the back is feeling. We're going to play like we're sitting on a boat, our nice yoga mats as our little canoes, our stand-up paddle boards, as we feel that boat rock side to side. And maybe you want to imagine you're on a huge boat, so the movement is nice and slow. Your sea might get rough and rocky and toss you from side to side. Toss it mindfully. You can lean more into it, a breath out. You might really lean the ear down towards the floor. You might let the hands slide out to help give you balance, or the hands might stay on the lap. Your boat rock might let the arms reach across. Feeling that reach. Big, slow breath. Maybe it's an arm that you look under that raised arm. So letting your boat rock look exactly how it needs to look tonight. The purpose of it, letting you move your back, your spine, your hips, your shoulders, your head in different ways. Now, if you lean one way and look up and away, that's yoga for our brain, where we're sending our body in one direction and looking in another. Sometimes that makes us feel dizzy, and it's better to look to the horizon or to look down to the ground. So playing with your boat, keeping it small, letting it be big. We come back and we find our boats at rest. Feel that mountain strength. Sitting up nice and tall, lifting the spine, relaxing the shoulders, placing the hands grounded on your lap, out to the ground, or backs of the hands touching. Feel that breath of life. Sit in this mountaintop moment. Catch your breath. And maybe you see something or you remember something that sparks a mountaintop renewal moment for you. Something that brings you gratitude and thanks. Maybe sparks joy or a feeling of love. Our bodies listen and they savor. And then we begin again. We're going to come into child's pose. And some folks who prefer not to come onto their knees can do child's pose seated. To do that, you plant your feet down. And if you're familiar with child's pose, you can go right to where you'd like to be. We find the feet down, and sometimes the belly needs some space to breathe, so the legs can come further apart, the elbows can connect, the prayer hands can come together, and they can rest on your forehead. We want our head to touch on something. So it might be raised arms. They might be stacked logs that come down, letting our cat shoulders round. Or it might be a combination somewhere in between. Maybe it feels better to rest on your chin. But if it's all right to touch your forehead onto something, that's the purpose of our child's pose. It's to really trigger that restful position. Now, if you're okay to come onto your hands and knees, we quietly, gently listen to our body to get there. And sometimes it needs almost like a boat rock to help us settle into it. So pressing back by the heels, maybe curling the toes under and feeling the tops of the feet touch. Sometimes a little rock from side to side, maybe drawing the toes together and the knees apart to make space for our stomachs to come down. Lowering onto your elbows, finding that kickstand position where prayer hands can rest on your forehead. Melt your shoulders. Listen to the back. Give any wiggles it needs if you're seated or on your knees. Maybe as you breathe out, it feels okay to stack your arms and the forehead comes to rest on stacked arms. Or if it needs just a little raised up, stacked fists, and stack one on the other. Or if you breathe out and notice that you don't need your hands, letting your forehead come to touch on the ground. The purpose of this pose is to surrender, to bow down, to listen with the ears of our heart, and to be still. If your hands aren't being used for support, they can rest beside your head, by your ears. They can reach out long to the front of your mat, press the palms down, press and feel that length into your shoulders. Or if it feels better to scoop the hands back down by your feet, roll and relax your shoulders down. Find your child's pose, rest. Come and be still with God. Take this quiet moment to rest, to be restored, to welcome in those intentions of our heart. Welcoming in love and peace, joy, grace and forgiveness. strength into our bones and our marrow. We pause here and we breathe. Perhaps we speak to God without words, using our breath as a prayer. And with the ears of our hearts open, we listen, perhaps not hearing a word, but understanding a feeling. A practice of being still. Breathing in that divine breath. Letting our foreheads touch on the floor or our hands or our arms. That touch is to remind us to listen, to remember, to notice these gentle nudgings. This is our practice of noticing with gentle kindness. Making offerings of our heart, letting our hearts be open to receive. We're going to slowly, gently come from this gentle rest, wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe adding a smile. Finding your way to sit up nice and strong if you've been seated, maybe raising slowly up onto your hands and knees if you've been on hands and knees, sometimes giving some wiggles from side to side, your seated boat rock, or finding a tabletop that rocks on some wobbly legs and arms, letting you lean from side to side. Notice your back. If it needs a cat arch round, if it comes mountain strong, if it curves. Find some gentle movements. If you're seated, it might be a seated twist. If you're on hands and knees, it might be looking back towards one ankle to the front and looking to the other. Nice big breath. Listen, as we start to come to stand, you can find a lot of different ways to do that. Work in a way that's comfortable for you. If it's reaching for a piece of furniture to help you up, if you'd like to be from hands and knees into what's called a downward dog, you curl your toes under and you feel some nice bent knees that help press your legs long and strong. Hips come up, looking back towards your ankles. Sometimes it feels nice to pedal your heel flat down and raise up onto tippy toes. You could alternate heels, toes, or both can lift and press, feeling that stretch on the back of your leg. And whenever you're ready to fully come to stand, we find those feet towards the hands and find your way, slowly, gently, spaghetti loose if you'd like, big full breath, shaking out any tension that we might have built up in the feet, the ankles, the knees. So getting nice and silly, making any wardrobe adjustments we need to make. We start to find our standing strength. Now this is standing mountain, and mountain can be with your feet close together. Might be where ankles touch. It might be a step out. And you might work to heel toe your way till you find a sweet spot, in or out. Sometimes toes further out than the heels feels nice. It really depends on your hips and how you find that planted mountain strength. So find your foot foundation, sometimes adding a little swish, a little standing boat rock, letting your weight shift from heel, side to side, feeling it come onto the edges of your feet. You could even let the toes lift and rotate if your ankles are feeling okay with that stretch. So feeling a rock turn, gentle kindness as we stretch and warm up these muscles in our feet and ankles. And then we want to shake them out. Feel the balance on one foot, flop, flop, flop the other foot. Rebuild that strength, flop, 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 shake out any tension. Plant both feet nice and strong. Feel your heels dig down. Feel your feet press. Feel your toes, almost like you're playing piano or a typewriter. Feel your toes nice and strong, drippy feet. And then Melt and relax the feet down. So they sink into that mountain foundation. Nice strong feet. Feel that energy now bubbling from your feet and ankles, up through your shins, over your knees, into your thighs, feeling the strength of your hip, feeling it lift your belly and your ribs, that string, that puppet that pulls you a little stronger, taller posture, feeling that reach, long spine. Let your strings relax to where they need to be, feeling it lift and lower. Keep your spine nice and tall. Notice your shoulders. Maybe they come up by the ears and then they melt. Spaghetti loose down. Nice relaxed arms and shoulders. Feeling that lift of the spine, the chin can come in, almost like you're trying to hold on to a grapefruit. This builds a strong zipper to our back. Nice, strong, raised head. Notice your hands. Maybe the palms can open to the front. The backs of the hands press a little ways back. Feel your shoulders drop. This is our standing mountain. Whenever you need, you relax out. We feel that zipper, that lift, those arms wide open, welcoming in that breath of life. We stand here strong. We stand here with our arms and hearts wide open. We stand here in the beauty of this mountaintop moment, listening and knowing that God is listening. In the quiets of our hearts and minds, with words or without, God is there, deep in our marrow and bones, knowing us, loving us, wrapping us in peace, filling us with joy, strength, grace, forgiveness. We stand here mountain strong, being renewed. Your mountain might stay right here, but if you'd like to let your arms turn into a sunrise, we can have wiggle fingers that start those rays of light. And those wiggle fingers might just press a little wider out to the side into an X or a Y shape, where you feel the shoulder blades start to pinch together, to feel that stretch into your shoulders, feeling that wiggle of your sunray fingers. That might be enough. Then they lower down. But if your arms want to rise up to the horizon, with our arms wide open, feeling that squeeze of the shoulder blades, this nice big cross. Remember Jesus coming to earth with arms wide open, welcoming friends, welcoming strangers, offering love, offering peace be with you. And so with arms wide open, maybe fingers even wiggling, letting that love light shine on us and be a reflection through us for others to see God's goodness. And that light might let your shoulders drop down, or it might raise up even more. Feeling those cactus arms out to the side, maybe a wiggle of your hands. Listen to the shoulders if the elbows need to drop before they raise back up. This might be enough. But if you'd like to make your arms wide open in an X or a Y shape, feel your shoulders. Find that right angle for you where your arms reach out strong. Your fingers wiggle, that love, light, joy, that spark of goodness. And maybe if your shoulders feel okay, you extend that mountain by reaching the arms overhead. Feel that nice squeeze, that reach. Maybe you're climbing a little bit higher up towards heaven. Those arms stretched wide. We give thanks to our Creator, the giver of life, showering us with love, peace, goodness, joy, grace, forgiveness, and hope, and gifting us with that divine breath, the Holy Spirit, the light of life that dwells in each of us. And so we bring our prayer hands to rest at our heart, drawing the chin in, feeling the spine lift tall, relaxing the shoulders down. Here we pause, mountain strong, holding that light of life at our hearts. Maybe feeling the movement of our breath, feeling the strength of our heartbeat. And we pause here and we give thanks. Letting those arms drop wide open again. Relax out any tension we built in the shoulders, and then find that mountain strong. Going to transition into tree pose, and there's a lot of ways to play with tree. And if you've practiced with me before, go into whichever tree speaks to your heart tonight, your body enjoys. But here's where we're going to build. You might step off your mat so you don't have cushion under your feet. But we start in mountain strong, and we change our focus to a spot in front of us that's not moving. So finding that focus point helps us keep our balance. It's a little visual tripod kickstand. Shifting the weight to one standing foot is the purpose of tree pose. Anything else is an add-on. So we stand strong on one leg, building that push through the foot, the lift up nice and strong, feeling those muscles engage. You can grow branches any which way you've liked, how we played in our mountain strong. But you could also play with the other leg that's not bearing weight. It could be a tippy toe march to the front. It could be where that foot slides over and toe to toe smashes down, heel to ankle, build that connection through the one solid tree leg root. That could be your tree. But you could kick the heel down, pop the toes up, march your leg up, feeling that nice march, tapping down whenever you need, rebuilding that lift on the standing leg whenever you need. This might be enough. Focus point, breath. Notice if a push on the inside of your knee to help encourage it to open out to the side. A marching leg up or down. Listen to your muscles, your joints, as they talk to you. Growing your tree, rebuilding as you need. It could also be where that foot taps out to the side. And that gives you your tree strength. And that toe can tap and draw in, pushing onto your heel to the ankle, lifting you mountain strong, sliding that foot into your standing leg, bringing it over the knee if you'd like to press into your thigh. Maybe you've got a lot of flexibility and that heel comes over into your hip pocket. So we grow our trees, and we rebuild them as we need, and we come down. And that standing leg might need some good pats to get the blood flowing. Nice little shake out, bear the weight on the other leg. Let the ankle go. Notice if it needs some circles, if it needs to circle the other way. Floppy, floppy foot. Notice the whole body. Let it get loose and relaxed. You might curve and round, really letting things go, shaking things loose, relaxing out any tension. It could be a little swish from side to side. Letting your body get a chance to reset, relax, to melt down, and then to begin again. Finding those feet pressed down, feeling that nice strength of mountain building up, feeling that lift, that string that pulls you a little taller, the shoulders that melt down, the hands that become wide open, bringing in that love light, this mountaintop moment of goodness. We stand here strong again. Breathe that breath of life. Give thanks. Again, tree is your practice. Build it to where it needs to be. Rebuild as your body needs. Take away and rest when it needs. We find that focus point again to help find that visual kickstand to shift the weight to the other standing foot. And sometimes a big bend of the knee to rebuild all the energy up one side of your tree can help. Hands might be better balanced to the side or bring them close to your heart. Maybe they even touch to bring everything close in. Find that lift, that one leg balance. This is our tree. We breathe. We find that strength. We rest. We build strength. And we could add more. That front foot could tap. A tippy toe march to the front, letting it plant and tap. Maybe it hops over and toe to toe, heel onto ankle. Push that tree nice and strong. Rebuild as you need. Finding that focus point, that breath. Maybe the heel goes down and the toes pop up, and you play with that march. Or the leg lifts up, maybe it taps down. Finding that tree, big breath. growing branches if you'd like, or holding them in close. Maybe that hand taps into that knee that's marching and you push out to the side. And you feel that nice, strong tree leg hold you steady. Rebuild as you need. Maybe the foot has tapped out to the side instead, encouraging that hip to be open. Maybe the foot turns, drawing the heel in to the ankle, pressing the toe, feeling that tree lift. Breath. Find that balance. Maybe a foot that stomps into your leg, hops over your knee into your thigh, or maybe the heel connects over into your hip. Finding that mountain strength. Through one foot, mountain strong, tree growing, branches, or hold them close. Our God is living and active and dwelling in us. And for that, we give thanks and we bring that goodness back down, feeling both feet plant. Relax out any tension we built up in that standing leg by circling the foot around. Maybe circle the other way. Maybe a floppy foot, maybe a pat into the standing legs, thanking them for their hard work. Noticing the back if it needs some swishes from side to side. Maybe your swish turns a little bigger and you look back again with joy, like someone's calling your name from back behind you. Maybe a hand connects to the hip and gives a gentle little squeeze as you look around, and come back, gentle squeeze as you look around. Let it swish out. We come back and we stand mountain strong. Feel that breath of life. Begin again. Feel that foundation lift. Arms wide open. Mountaintop moment. Breath to reset. Slowing your breath down slows our heart down. And noticing our breath and our heartbeat slows sometimes some really busy thoughts to let us have more quiet and stillness. But it's a practice. So as we notice here, mountain strong, maybe you've come back onto your mat. One of the benefits of yoga is going upside down unless you've been told to keep your head above your heart. If that's the case, stay more in an L shape, and that will help keep the head above the heart. A safety note, it's a big stretch on the back of the leg as we start to lean forward. If you know where you want to go, you can go right there. But the foundation is feet strong. They could be touching, they could be a step apart, they could be really wide apart if you want a wide leg forward bend. So the legs aren't as important as listening. If there's a thumping in the head, bend the knees, slowly roll up, maybe a hand on top of the head to calm a stirry feeling, take a big breath. But if it feels okay, build into it. Strong legs wherever you'd like to position your feet. Hands on the hips reminds us that we want to scoop like a melon ball or an ice cream scooper out of that hip joint. Wiggle the knees. Feel a slow motion, look out long, L-shaped drawbridge. So you start to lower into that L shape. Now, sometimes it feels nice to give a really big bend to your knees, almost like you're a baseball catcher. Looking out in front of you, watching, finding that breath. Listen to the legs as you start to give a breath out to feel the stretch. You might notice hands on the hips feels nice, or hands on the legs might feel good. Careful not to put them onto your knee joint itself. That's a lot of pressure. So this L shape might be enough, and you can raise up and come back into your L shape. If you'd like to test out a forward bend, looking down to the ground, shaking the head a little from side to side, relaxes up and neck and shoulders, raising up if you need. Breath to reset. Notice how it's feeling if you need to bend the knees a little or a lot. Shake them out as you go, but feel that raise up to get rid of some of the stretch. On a breath out, bow the shoulders a little more if you'd like to lower your way down. Your hands can move like they're on a ladder, hips to thighs. Give a press, a raise, wiggle the knees, breath out. Maybe the hands walk down toward the shins. Give a press, a raise, walk the way a little lower. Now, sometimes hands reaching towards the feet can get frustrating. So you might just keep the hands on the hips. Use that as your balance. A place to press, a place to fold into. So keeping your hands on your hips, on your thighs, or letting them walk down the ladder. Maybe they've made it to your feet and you're really flexible where you can step onto your hands under your toes and feel that stretch through your shoulders and a bow forward with bent elbows. Where your bend is perfect tonight. Listen with kindness. You might want to let the arms go spaghetti loose, letting them swish a little from side to side. Or you might connect hands to elbows, and it makes a picture frame for your head to gently rock inside that cradle. Maybe a side-to-side movement feels nice. Maybe a little more of a twist where the hands come out to the sides of your legs. Maybe the movement is too much and you need to raise the head up, find that horizon, find that breath. Bend the knees, straighten the legs, let go. Big melty surrender. Hands loose, arms laced together, or hands up on the hips still. We hang out and we breathe. Keeping the hips nice and high, we slowly transition when the head's been below the heart, looking forward to start, planting the hands somewhere strong on your legs to help half lift you up. Wiggle the toes, sometimes getting that blood flow into the feet. Feel it move into your ankles. Feel a big bend to the knees, the straighten of your legs. See how your heartbeat is. If it's talking too much in the head, hang out for a moment. If it's feeling okay, you can bend the knees, lift with a straight back or lift with a cat rounded back. Slowly, gently, coming back up to mountain strong. Hand on top of the head if it feels dizzy, or hand at the heart can give a nice reset signal. Feel that spine long and strong. Push through your feet. Find that mountain strength. Here we catch our breath and we begin again. Letting the arms come wide open. We take that mountaintop moment, that nice big breath, and it becomes a chance that we can take this love, this light that we gather with our arms and wiggle through our fingers, that ray of goodness, and we can wrap it around into a hug. It becomes a shoulder stretch where you wrap your arms around, and it might be hand to each elbow. And that hug onto the elbows is nice and strong, and you can wiggle. But maybe your hands reach onto your shoulders, or it pats you onto the back, where you start to reach the hands around and feel that nice squeeze. Wiggle, relax your shoulders down. Relax the shoulders. Hug into that embrace where hands are patting on the back or they're hugging onto your elbow. We gather that love. And I'm out here in Hawaii and I am sending you so much aloha. This goodness in our hearts, this love light that God shines onto us. We hug it in, we let it grow in strength, and then we share and let that light shine. Almost like we're sending out some Hawaiian rainbows. Let your arms drop and swish the arms, feeling that rainbow arc of light. Big breath, gentle push, relaxing out any tension we built in the shoulders. But maybe you feel like you're splashing water out with that splash of love and joy, light and goodness, strength, grace, forgiveness, God's goodness lighting the way. Shake it out. Mountain strong. Feel that push through the feet, that zip through the spine, the head nice and tall, the shoulders down, wiggle of fingers, that love light, that joy, that goodness. And maybe you noticed which arm was crossed on top, and maybe you didn't. You might have a favorite arm and you cross the same one again, or you might notice that you can Cross the arms the other way. Pat on the elbow, squeeze on tight. That might be enough where your hug is elbow to elbow. We relax the shoulders. We feel that movement, that nice grippy hug. Or it might be where you pat yourself on the shoulders. You squeeze on. Or you might notice that the hands reach around and they hug their way back. Patting yourself on the back, giving that breath out where the hands hug tight and the elbows melt and drop. Shake, wiggle your shoulders. Maybe even move some movement into the head and neck. Maybe like you're watching that rainbow, the head circles in a puddle on the ground, or that rainbow is up in the skies. Neck circles. Big hug of love. We gather God's goodness. We hug it in tight. And then we share that love, that light, the joy, the peace, the grace, forgiveness, and we splash it out in front of us, relaxing out any tension we might have built up in our shoulders, and letting the arms sweep for joy. Melt down, mountain strong. Feel it from your feet out through the top of your head, arms wide open, or pulling that love light to your heart. We pause, mountain strong. We catch the breath. We notice how things are feeling. Checking in from head to toe if there's any wibble wobbles, shakes, rolls, stretches, hugs, movements that we might need. We want to let go of any tension we built up to find our final rest. And again, as Nico is finding his comfortable position on the couch, curling up, find your place to find your rest. If you're seated, it might be where you connect the feet down and you feel your back press against the strength of the chair that you're sitting in, and you melt your shoulders down and you rest your head back. If you'd like to be in a seated on the floor meditation, you find that seated mountain strength. You pop the hands where they need to be. It'll be hands on the belly and the heart, hands on the lap, hands to the floor. Or if you'd like to melt down into a big puddle on your mat, find those feet. Just stretch your back out long and strong, melt the shoulders, hands out to the side or hands to the belly and the heart. Knees pressing into the feet, knees tenting together, or legs kicking out long. Or maybe you find rest by rolling onto your belly and resting, hands under your chin. Or maybe you'd rather curl into that fetal pose on your side so that you can be rest, so you can be held. Notice your breath. Slow it down. We come into this final rest, noticing if there's any places we need to wiggle, relax, breathe into, send healing, melt it, to let it relax, restore, be renewed. Maybe your eyes softly gaze on something or they close. Slow that breath. Notice where it's filling, if it's your belly, your ribs, up into your shoulders. Feeling it melt and relax down, squeezing out the last bit of breath. Maybe at first being mindful, purposeful, maybe counting even how long it takes to breathe in and how long it takes to breathe out. That counting can help quiet our mind again. Or just feeling that boat-like rhythm, that slow, rocky, wavy breath that lets you slow down, telling your body to rest. Finding that peace, that calm, that renewal. Opening the ears of our heart to listen again. The scripture that was written on this retreat shirt that I'm wearing says spoken. Sometimes God speaks to us with words, and other times with just feelings or gentle nudgings. But when we pause and we become still, like Jesus in this week's gospel, going to a quiet place to rest, to be renewed. This is our practice. From Hebrews 4, verse 12. Indeed, the word of God is living and effective, sharper than any two-edged sword, penetrating even between soul and spirit, joints and marrow. And God's word is able to discern reflections and thoughts of our hearts. So we lay here and we quietly rest. We let God search our hearts, and maybe we speak with words from our hearts to be heard, knowing that God listens, loves, and welcomes us to find that quiet place where we've been heard and we can listen. Let us rest in God's love, peace, divine joy, grace, and forgiveness, welcoming in God's strength and renewal. We pause here to rest and to be restored. We let our breath be a slow, loving prayer. We breathe in that breath of life and we breathe out thanks. Again, like we're telling the body to gently, slowly wake up. You might breathe in and give a nice big open mouth sigh. And maybe you add a smile to your face, a wiggle to your fingers and toes, letting it spark in that light, that joy, that goodness, maybe some movement into the hands and the feet, feeling some movement into your back. If you've been laying down, maybe you plant the feet and you curl over to your side. And you take a few breaths laying in that fetal pose out to your side. If you've been seated, maybe you find that mountain strength again. But all of us will meet in a posture of thanks, where we sit up tall and mountain strong, enjoying these final breaths, savoring this peace, this love, this light, this joy, this grace and forgiveness. And we hold it at our hearts, letting that light shine for all to see God's goodness. And if we're in a room, we look around the people around us and we give a nod of thanks for their presence. And we look to each other, my friends, giving a nice big bow of thanks. Peace be with you. Go in peace to love and to serve God. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Next week, we are going to start, it will be Fat Tuesday. And so we'll start our Lenten journey with final big Fat Tuesday of joy. So come join us next week. We will not be in the upper hall in Annapolis. We will be on the mat. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be on the mat on Zoom. So we'll see you next week, Zoom only. If you are in the Annapolis area, just check the church calendar to see if we're in person or if we're Zoom only. And if you are on the Facebook, I have Divine Breath Yoga page where you're welcome to follow updates that I post on that page as well. So peace be with you. Thank you. Thank you. So glad you joined us. And be well. We'll see you the next time.
Thank you, Candace.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Candace.
Yep, thanks for coming.